U.S. and British military striking back against the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels for their continued attacks against ships in the Red Sea. U.S. and British military airstrikes hitting 18 targets at 8 locations in Yemen, including underground storage facilities, weapons, and even a helicopter. Even with continued strikes, the Houthis remain defiant, accelerating attacks against ships, including the missile strike that disabled the British-owned Ruby Mar, forcing the crew to abandon the vessel. It's now leaking oil, causing an 18-mile oil slick, along with concerns about the 41,000 tons of fertilizer on board that could turn into an environmental disaster.
The 4 were arrested after Navy SEALs boarded this vessel off the coast of Somalia and found missile parts, including a warhead, the U.S. says were being smuggled from Iran to the Houthis in Yemen. 2 Navy SEALs, Petty Officers Chris Chambers and Gage Ingram, were lost at sea while attempting to board in rough seas. The boarding occurred last month on the same date the U.S. and Britain launched its first round of strikes against Houthi targets in Yemen.
An aide to Alexei Navalny announced on Saturday afternoon that his body has been handed over to his mother 8 days after he died. Ivan Zhdanov, the director of Navalny's anti-corruption foundation, made the announcement on his Telegram social media account. Hours earlier, his widow, Yulia Navalnaya, had accused President Putin of mocking Christianity in trying to force his mother to agree to a secret funeral at the Arctic penal colony where he was incarcerated. It's not known how Navalny, who was 47, died.
Israel's war cabinet approved on Saturday night for the continuation of peace talks and the envoy of negotiators to Qatar to discuss securing a ceasefire in the war against Hamas and the return of hostages being held in Gaza. The delegation met in Paris with mediators from the US, Qatar and Egypt. The Israeli government will gather in the coming days to approve operational plans for action in Rafah, including details on the evacuation of civilians, according to Netanyahu.
Tonight, in the skies above the western United States, NORAD sending up fighter jets to track a high-altitude balloon flying at 43,000 to 45,000 feet. An official tells us the balloon is some 50 feet tall with a 2-foot payload. Its contents unknown, and they do not believe the balloon is being steered remotely. The military first spotting it over Utah. It is now drifting east. No word on who sent the balloon, where it's going, or what its mission might be.
Zambia has seen a surge in cholera cases since January 2024, with fatalities reaching 700, medical charity Doctors Without Borders said in a statement. The country has recorded nearly 20,000 cases since the outbreak began in October 2023. While at the beginning of the outbreak, cases were restricted to Lusaka and Ndola, the 2 largest cities in Zambia, the disease has since spread to all provinces of the country, with the potential to affect the entire Southern Africa region.
It's Europe's largest agriculture event, showcasing the produce of French farmers. But even before it opened, it had become another showcase for their anger. Farmers have been protesting for weeks at high costs, poor pay, strict environmental regulations and competition from imported non-EU products. France's president had cancelled a planned debate with farming representatives here after they called it provocative, with reports of environmental activists also being invited.